many people grow up from dysfunctional homes and societies, and then they try to portray that online because digital space is wide open for everybody. So for protection, I think we should be intentional about creating awareness online and even offline. There are certain laws that many women are not aware of. So when we empower communities, it becomes safe for women. The society becomes safe for women. Because when you don't know something, you can't act on it. But when you know about the existence of certain rights that are available for you, you'll be able to work in line with those things. Creating awareness, I think, is one of the basic things that should happen from the home fronts, society, and even outside. When a girl know that, okay, when we talk about open conversations, I think one of the arguments is that instead of having open conversations, we should teach them abstinence. That's for young girls, adolescent girls. But then we cannot shy away from the issues of open conversation, because even when we preach abstinence these days, young girls still go ahead to do what is in their mind. So instead of letting them doing it carelessly, why not tell them clearly? When you have sex unprotected, there are a lot of things that comes with it. You either get infection, you either get HIV, or you either get pregnant. Let them know that using condoms is safe for them. So having these heart-to-heart open conversations, they are very important. And then we shouldn't shy away from them, though we still preach abstinence.
How can men and boys champion women and girls' rights, transforming societal norms from within?
First is including them in the process of all the advocacy. When we keep doing it just woman to woman, it stays woman to women. If a man can be a manager, a woman can be a manager. If a man can have a startup, a woman can have a startup. If a man can be a governor, a woman can be a governor. If a man can be a president, a woman can be a president. So I know of a family that the husband used to beat the wife, and then because she refused to tell her parents, because they are not in the same environment with the parent, it was a neighbor that notified the parent about, are you people not aware of this thing that has been happening to the... She eventually died, unfortunately. But then, imagine if the neighbor had even spoken earlier than that time. I would like to speak about something very personal. I had an issue with a relationship issue sometime in 2016 when I was in school. I remember then one of my boyfriends then, when I said I'm not doing relationship again, he came and then he said, if we are not dating again, it's either I kill him or he kill me. Yes. So he carried knife. I still have the scar here. It was a very deep cut, and then what helped me that day was communal living, because when I was shouting in my room, my neighbors came out. Everybody came out. In fact, they were trying to bring down the window because he locked the door, and obviously he was powerful than I am.
Hello everyone, welcome to Safe Conversation Podcast. I'm your host Serena Yusuf, and with me here is
Alexander Long-Yielded.
Thank you for coming, Ma. Please, what do you do, Ma?
The executive director for Think Shade Foundation and the CEO for Ali Smart Global Recycling, a waste management company. But basically, I'm a girl child advocate. I advocate for women's rights, girls' rights, and then basically human rights activist.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Ma.
You're welcome.
So we'll be diving into the questions for today. Do women and girls have specific human rights? And if so, what foundational protections are guaranteed to them?
Okay, like we all know, there are fundamental human rights in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But then also to it, there are certain other laws, because there are certain gaps that exist in the Constitution of the Federal Republic. And so there are certain particular provisions, like you can find them in the CEDAW, you can find it also in the VAP law, that's the Violence Against Persons and Prohibition Act. You can find the JO law, that's the Gender and Equal Opportunities laws too. And then particularly for VAP law, you have section 1, 2, and 11 that covers on protection of women. Particularly, it talks about various forms of violence occurred to women, and then comparing it to other laws, there are no others do not come out clearly to mention those offenses as they are. And also there is a certain thing about the verb law. It also clearly define rape, which it also includes penetration. It says even with objects. In other laws, they may just tell you penetration, and then when you go to court, there's always no often opportunity to you to defend what actually that penetration is. But then the verb law has gone further to make it clear that penetration can be either with your hand, an object, or with your penis as a man. So all of it constitute rape under verb law. So these particular laws, they exist with their different provisions for protection for women and girls.
Thank you, ma'am. Beyond basic rights, what unique protections do women and girls deserve?
Women and girls deserve a lot of protection because when we are discussing about issues of violence against women, we do have this issue of we talk about equality, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about equality, it shows that there's a gap somewhere. And then this gap existed, I think since being a woman already is already creating a gap when you're growing,
Yes.
even as a child. For you to be born as a woman, there's already a gap. So for you to now fill in that gap, it shows that there's a lot to do. So it shows that even the laws that we have should be able to provide certain protections and certain understanding. And then I like how most of these laws are beginning to accommodate women, just like the Labor Act. It gives certain provisions for when a woman should close, most especially when she's pregnant, and all these maternity leaves and all of it. So these are certain rights that women should enjoy apart from the fundamental human rights, because there's no how a pregnant woman and a man who is not pregnant will play on the same ground in a normal day-to-day life. You already know that she deserves some certain consideration because she on her own is carrying two people. And even being on a woman alone, we have issues. Some of the women that experience menstrual cramps that are very heavy sometimes, some of them cannot even go to work and the rest of it. This also is creating a limitation if you look at it.
Yes.
So there should be certain rights, certain protection for women that they should be able to enjoy. In as much as we know that it's difficult for workspaces to say that anytime in your period you stay at home, but then there are certain consideration. Okay, within the work time, if a woman is on her period, these are certain times that she might take a rest, or provision of we need warm water, tea, and the rest of it. So depending on the place a woman is serving, there should be certain rights that should exist to protect her.
Yes, ma'am.
Beyond the fundamental human rights. Yes, we have the right to freedom of speech. We have the right to fair hearing, living your life normally and all those things. But then beyond that, there are certain things that should be accorded to woman. And then looking at the levels where she is being limited, she should be able to enjoy certain rights.
Ma, do you think for like this period you spoke about, I don't know, is it also entitled to girls in school, like students?
Okay, I think most conversations around period and school is always about hygiene, particularly make ensuring that the toilets are safe and accommodating for both men and women. There's no how you compare a toilet that a man will use and a woman will use. They are not the same. They are not supposed to be of the same standard, because why? Our body is open compared to that of the man. And then when you talk about this issue of period banks, pad banks rather, so having pads in schools and the rest of it. So these are the conversations around period. But when we talk about issue of leave, rest, and the rest of it, it's kind of difficult at this stage, but it's one thing that I believe would also, I mean, should also be for women, because personally, I know some of the times that if I just come to work and then I'm having cramps, I just close my laptop, stay. Sometimes my staff will be like, look at this. I'll say, please keep it. till tomorrow, till next tomorrow. When they see me behaving like that, they'll be like, this one is on and all this. So
Yeah.
it's that I'm speaking because mine come with that challenge and I understand what it is. For some women, they don't get to face those challenges.
Yes.
For some, they have to be admitted in hospitals and the rest of it.
Mhm.
So there should be certain level of understanding that should come in place. That's why I keep mentioning, depending on the level of the woman's work or what we are looking at that particular moment. Some might not need it for even, there are women that even when they are pregnant, they are still very strong till the
Yeah.
day they give birth. But for some, they need to go for bed rest. So you look at the condition. How do you enable her to be able to play on an equal ground and then to feel safe? We are talking about creating fear-free zones. How do you enable them to have those amenities, those basic rights, those, you understand, those important things that we should look around them? How do you make them feel comfortable?
Yes, ma. Thank you for that. How can we create safe spaces, both physical and digital, where women and girls can thrive without fear?
I think it's one of the items on my vision and also my personal values. It's not an easy conversation as it sounds when we talk about creating safe spaces, because if you look around, there's a lot of challenges that comes with when you have to talk about issue of safety for women. People will go to argue that it is not like that. She's also a woman. She should be able to play free and fair, what and what and what. But then they sometimes it's even twisted to saying that since we are asking for equality, it means that the woman can play on the same ground with the man. But then that's why I keep, to an extent, I prefer talking about equity and equality. But then we know that equity is not justice. So let's go with equality. Because when we start talking about equity now, I think the other gender will start bombarding us. But then talking about free, safe spaces, when we are able to create more awareness. Because if you look at most of the conversation, you will see a lot of lack of awareness from people. And then also, I think background plays a lot of role in creating this safe space. When you grew up from a family or from a home that gives you those certain rights, and then you come into a society that does not help you or give you those basics protection, it becomes a problem. So you can see sometimes even as women, when they marry, when they are given they give when they give birth to them in their own houses, there are certain things they don't do. Maybe like me personally, when I used to stay with my parents, um particularly about this issue of menstrual cramps. When I'm having my period, most times they know me. In fact, when it's time, I don't need to tell you that this is what is
Yeah.
happening. They know, because from my mood, you will know. And then within that period, I realized that my family gives me a lot of freedom, like not to do a lot of work within the house. My siblings or any other person can handle most of the things, and then I just get to rest. But then, imagine now living that kind of family, and then you go into marriage, let's say, and then you're faced with, you have to do the work because you're the woman. Nobody is there to support you. It becomes a challenge, right? Talking about digital space, we have conversations going on online. When you get to talk about women, you just need to do is to just write a sentence, and then you see a lot of people will come bombarding everybody with their ideas and ideologies, and then you know that most of the deficiency we have, they are from their background. When people grow up from dysfunctional homes and societies, and then they try to portray that online, because digital space is wide open for everybody. So for protection, I think we should be intentional about creating awareness online and even offline. And then for online spaces, we should have advocates that goes beyond the physical, like day to day, to go online and then create more awareness. When we talk about physical space, we think of working with security agencies. When we are able to equip and empower local vigilante and all those people to know how to handle women issues, most especially when it has to do with sexual violence within the society. Our traditional leaders our women groups, because we have certain women groups at different community level, when they are empowered to know the certain rights that exist for women, to know the certain protections that they are available to women. There are certain laws that many women are not aware of. So when we empower communities, it becomes safe for women. The society becomes safe for women. So I think for the physical aspects, that will work.
What specific measures are essential for protecting girls from exploitation and harm in their formative years?
I'll still hammer on awareness. Awareness. When they say information is power, so when they are aware of their rights, they will be able to take charge of it. I remember this agile project that we did with the Plateau State government 2023. Um, One of the basic things, I was part of the people that organization. Our organization was part of the organizations in Plateau State that did the manual development and even the TOT training. So one of the things we're looking at is, at this young age for adolescent girls, they need to be aware first. Because when you don't know something, you can't act on it.
True.
But when you know about the existence of certain rights that are available for you, you'll be able to work in line with those things. Creating awareness, I think, is one of the basic things that should happen from the home front, society, and even outside. And then most children now are exposed to digital, like social media.
Yeah.
Yes, so you can, some of these kids, they do a lot on social media these days. I saw one video the other day, one small girl, that girl should be barely 12, 11. She was online using her phone to record, saying if you're a man and you want to come and she has Indomie for you, come and spend the weekend for her. I was like, at this very little age, you're already exposed. That thing you think they don't know, they already know.
True.
So instead of concealing certain informations from them, get them to be aware, get them to know certain things, and then they'll be able to act accordingly. When a girl know that, okay, when we talk about open conversations, I think one of the arguments is that instead of having open conversations, we should teach them abstinence. That's for young girls, adolescent girls. But then we cannot shy away from the issues of open conversation, because even when we preach abstinence these days, young girls still go ahead to do what is in their
Yeah.
mind. So instead of letting them doing it carelessly, why not tell them clearly? When you have sex unprotected, there are a lot of things that comes with it. You either get infection, you either get HIV, or you either get pregnant. Let them know that using condoms is safe for them. So having these heart-to-heart open conversations, they are very important. And then we shouldn't shy away from them, though we still preach abstinence. You understand? And then for those young girls, that's why our digital space should carry those awareness too, because the more they come to the digital space, what they find out there is what exactly they are going to be acting upon. The information that is available to them is what they consume, and that's what they use. So instead of just letting them off and away like that, let's be able to be intentional about putting out certain vital informations on social media spaces, that when they come across them, it will also serve as a lesson to them, to also encourage them to do different and better things.
I feel like that's actually the right thing to do because there are a lot of young ones, like even in my fellowship, that when you're supposed to open up to them and let them know these effects, they're always covering it up and just making them feel like, oh, just stay away from it. But they're not actually giving them the reasons to why they should stay away from it. So that's very impactful. Thank you, ma'am. How can men and boys champion women and girls' rights, transforming societal norms from within?
First is including them in the process of all the advocacy. When we keep doing it just woman to woman, it stays woman to women. But when you include men, that's why these days we are having he for she foundation and all of it. So all these ones, they exist to ensure that men are being carried out in the conversation. It's time to always have the conversation where both men and women are seated. That's why these days, if you go for community advocacies, we don't just ask for only women like it was the position before now. No, you have both the men and women sit together in one place, have the conversation together. Even when we go to school for menstrual hygiene talks, we invite both the men and the women, the young boys and the young girls, come and stay together, listen to it. A boy can be able to help his sister in certain conditions. So when we include them in the conversations first, it also helps to um also equip them rather to be able to be part of this cause we are trying to work towards ensuring safe space for women. And then also when we talk about tailored conversations only for men, because there are certain things, just like there are certain conversations that, yes, we agree they are basically for women, but then there should be certain conversations that should be basically for men too, so that they understand. And then it should be championed also by their fellow men to an extent, because those who are already aware, do you understand? There's this thing with conversation, just like you said, like those girls in your fellowship. If a man is trying to talk to them about that issue, it might be hard for them to open up. But when it's a woman, they open up and say what exactly is in their mind. So we should also have certain men that champion certain cause tailored towards just the boys and the men particularly. And also one of the things I think can also work is I think basically that is it. For cultural norms, right? That you
Yes.
speak about. Yes, the family front. I always talk about the home front is very, very vital and key, because whatsoever you grew up with, it takes a lot for someone to change habits because you already grew with it. But when you grow up from a particular home front that enables you, that gives that you're so enlightened and you know certain things, it's hard for you to forget them. No matter how the peer pressure is, even when you decide to go against them, doesn't mean that you have forgotten. Do you understand?
Yes.
So our home front too should be able to equip these young men. These issues of gender roles from home front, these are some of the cultural things we are looking at. Gender roles shouldn't be a thing from the home front. It starts from as little as saying, no, women will wash plates while boys will stay and be watching film with their daddy. Remember all those secondary school songs we used to have? I've forgotten the song, but I know mommy is in the kitchen, daddy is in the parlor, the boy is playing football, the girl is washing plates.
Yes.
That is where it starts. So imagine a child with that mindset that this is how a family is. How do you want such a person to be thinking? He will definitely be, his mind will definitely be towards that same thing. So it is important that we catch them young from when they are little, from the schools that they attend. We should make sure that the curriculum is such that it's also enlightening them on certain issues, that they don't feel strange to certain things when they grow up to come into it. Imagine a small boy now, maybe let's say a 13, 14 years old, seeing a lady stained with her period. He won't be able to laugh because he was aware that this is it. Instead of laughing, how do I help her to cover up and then get to clean herself? Do you understand? So this is what we are talking about. So this little home front, the school and all those things. Some of these nursery rhymes that we do have them in school, they should look into it, because those things too, they constitute part of the problems that we are talking about. Because we are talking about the mindset now. It gives, they already make the men to cultivate certain mindset, and it's not easy, like I said, to change habits, because when someone grew up with certain habits, it becomes part of them. And then changing it takes a lot of time and effort again. And then do you prefer to focus on changing someone that is already a grown adult, or somebody who is still young, he is still learning to just pick up? That is why most of these days advocacies are tailored towards the young children, because we realize that changing the mindset of those already grown is always almost very hard. So working with the younger ones gives you more opportunity to correct their mindset since when they are still young, before they grow up to see all other things that were existing. So I think the home front, advocacy, schools, and all those things, they play a vital role.
Cultural traditions and beliefs are powerful forces. How do they sometimes act as barriers? and at other times as accelerators in our journey towards true gender equality. What's the balance?
Okay, so we talk about cultural norms, right? Issues of FGM, that's female genital mutilations, those cultural practices. We should be able to enlighten people that those things are not true and they shouldn't be existing. When we talk about issues of child marriage, when a girl is still very young and then she's already betrothed to someone, or forcing a girl of under 20 to marry, she hasn't even discovered herself. These are cultural norms that shouldn't exist totally because they serve as barriers to women. Things we should encourage rather are education for women. You know, some of the cultural norms that exist that women should not go to school. Instead of you to train a woman, you should train the boy child. These are things that should be discouraged. Parents should look at the value of training both gender. We're not talking of only one person now. We are saying that both of them should be able to access education. You understand? We are talking about marriage. We are saying that let the girl grow up to a certain level of understanding for her to be able to make her choice. Genital mutilation is something that should not be existing at all because it is not relevant in any way, scientifically and even culturally. It shouldn't be existing. And then we are talking about issues of community leaders also. They also play a role in eradicating all these gender norms. It is believed then that, when we are growing up, if they are having all these community meetings, it's only the men in the area that goes for the meeting. So why not we discourage all those things? Those things already are also cultivating a mindset. Those things, those type of activities should be discouraged. Why won't the woman be part of the meeting? When you're talking about peace building within the community, the woman can talk about peace too. Why is she limited because of her gender? Just because she's a woman? When we are talking about protection, today we have women in the police, we have women in the vigilante, we have women in the army and the rest of it. That's to tell you that the women can do it too. So why are you excluding them at the traditional level, at the community level? That also constitutes another barrier, cultural barrier for women. And then the balance is that women should be included from the grassroots at community levels in conversation, no matter how hard the conversation is. Women also should be able to participate in decision making within the community. Now it's better now that just like in Plateau State now we have women that are occupying certain traditional council positions like the Desele Jos and the rest of it. Women are beginning to be seen in traditional councils, unlike before, that is basically only men. And that is not how it should be. Women can take decisions too. Let them in. Let them participate. Let them be part of it. Let them not just only participate. Let us see women leading too. Let them not just participate in the decision making process. So that is also one of the things that we are talking about. And then when you talk about empowerment, is also another thing. You see, when a woman is not empowered, it's a serious challenge. It poses a lot of challenge. As civil society organizations, we try to see how we empower women, let them have sources of income, because most time look at this power is all about who has what. And then when women come to the table and then you don't have anything to offer, technically you're out. And even if they try to give you opportunity without you having what to offer, it is always either monitored or you're more like a remote that can be controlled even in that decision making power that you have, position that you have. So you see, some of these cultural norms are things that should be discouraged. Women should be empowered too. Young men are the ones sent to go and learn skills rather than the women. Or there are certain skills they'll say, no, this one is not for the woman, this one is for the man. And when you look at those skills very well, the other one that the man is going for is more catchy, it's more profitable. Do you understand? Today I do waste collection, which is not one of the common thing that women do, most especially in Plateau State. I think in the Association of Plateau State registered waste collectors and waste dealers in Plateau State, the youngest female on that, and then we are just like three females in that particular forum. And then I remember when I wanted to start this whole business, my mentor then, Mrs. Sarah Daga, when she has a recycling company. So when I saw when she was packing the waste and everything, I told her, "Ma, I want to do this thing." She said, "No, this one is not for women, it's for men." I told her, "I don't think there's anything that a man can do that I cannot do. Please, ma, give me the opportunity, let me do it." And then she gave me, she was like, "Okay, fine. Since you say that, go and try it." Yes, it has a lot of limitations because for men, they will just go and do the bagging themselves. But for me, I have to now pay, get people to do the bagging and the rest of it. But then I'm doing it and I'm liking it. And it's very profitable for me. Do you understand? So at that level, you shouldn't consider that there are certain jobs that they are for men and then they are for women. That mindset should be discouraged. Let women be able to explore other things too. If a man can be a manager, a woman can be a manager. If a man can have a startup, a woman can have a startup. If a man can be a governor, a woman can be a governor. If a man can be a president, a woman can be a president. So allow everyone, give them the opportunity, let them know that they can do all of this. These are some of the things from the family front, from the school, like I say, you begin to instill in them certain knowledge for them to know that they can be who they are. They don't have certain limitations, even as women. So this type of let me say activities or advocacies should go on a lot to empower women, most especially let women be empowered so that they should be involved rightly in decision making, because it is not only for you to be participating, it's not only for you to be involved, but what are you bringing? Even though we know that it's not all about money for decision making, right? But then the society have made it the way that before you get certain level of influence, you need to have money. So let women have the source of income too, just like men. Whatever a man can do, a woman should do it too. We are not limited by anything. Yes, we know that, just like we say, these issues of certain rights, someone might want to argue that, but people were talking about certain rights. Yes, if she has to go there and play her role there, also let her enjoy those certain rights. But when she go and you deny her the opportunity to enjoy those certain rights, that's when it becomes a problem. So let women play also on fair grounds too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tama. If you could see one tangible, transformative change in your lifetime regarding the safety and empowerment of women and girls, what would it be and why does it matter so deeply to you?
First is gender based violence. I want to see a society free from any form of gender based violence. I want to be able to see that in my lifetime, women are free to walk around without any fear, first. Secondly, I want to see that women are not limited by any means because of their gender. When we talk about gender-based violence, it's in different forms. The sexual-based violence, we talk about sexual exploitations and the rest of it. I want to see women thrive beyond any existing cultural norm or barrier. I want to see women empowered. I'm a big advocate for women empowerment. Why? Because I believe that when a woman is empowered, there are certain things that shouldn't exist around her when she's empowered. So women should be empowered. That's for the safety.
That's amazing, ma.
Thank you.
What can our communities do right now to support women and girls?
One of the things they can do is, just like I say, to support women and girls, there are certain things that makes up a community. First, we have households. Second, we have the traditional council. Third, we have the leadership of either the youth, women, or market group and all those things within the community. So getting all those formations to come together to understand understand issues around women, surrounding women, understanding these basic rights that exist for women also helps them to give them certain protection within the community. We are talking about involvement also in the traditional council. When traditional councils are able to look at involving women in their traditional settings, it also opens up the mind of everyone in the community that everybody is carried along. You understand? And then within the community, there are certain conversations, just like we say, woman to woman. There are certain conversations a woman would want to have with another fellow woman that should be in the traditional council. Let a woman be there. She will also be able to handle such conversations. You understand? So within the community, awareness should be more, and also participation and involvement of women in every activity within the community. We also ensure safety and protection for the women. The vigilante, the community police within the community should be aware, should be enlightened, should be educated about certain things on how to handle certain informations when it has to do with women issues, whether sexual violence, any form of domestic violence, and the rest of it. Africans are beginning to lose the full essence of being Africans. Your neighbor's keeper. So when we are our neighbor's keeper, you'll be able to step in for our neighbor in certain situations. So those communal living settings should be things that should be encouraged. How is my neighbor doing today? How are you doing today? Hope you're fine. You slept well. What is happening? It also gives another person the opportunity to be able to communicate to you freely. And even when the person is not communicating, there are certain things that you get to see them even when they don't say it to you. Do you understand? So when we imbibe that communal living spirit again, let's bring it back. It's very important. Yes, I know that everybody is trying to be careful of uh this deceiving word of mind your business. In as much as everybody wants to mind his business, it's also very important that we don't overlook some of the things that comes with intruding in some businesses. There are certain things. I know of a family that the husband used to beat the wife, and then because she refused to tell her parents, because they are not in the same environment with the parent, it was a neighbor that notified the parent about, are you people not aware of this thing that has been happening to the she eventually died, unfortunately. But then imagine if the neighbor had even spoken earlier than that time. So when the day the thing happened, the neighbor heard when the husband was beating the wife, and then it was very bad. Unlike the other days that he used to do it, I had to go and look for the number of the parents' call. This is what is happening. Before they could come, he found out that she was off already. She passed out. They took her to Jude. I think she stayed on oxygen for like 2 weeks before she died. She didn't survive it. So imagine if it was the whole, you can come into another person's home. What I expected of that neighbor, if you ask me, was go to that house as he's beating, go and break the door down, enter inside. Yes, let him know that he doesn't exist in the air. There are people around. So that communal living, looking out for each other helps. I would like to speak about something very personal. I had an issue with a relationship issue sometime in 2016 when I was in school. I remember then one of my boyfriends, then when I said I'm not doing relationship again, he came and then he said, if we are not dating again, it's either I kill him or he kill me.
Ah.
Yes. So he carried knife. I still have the scar here. It was a very deep cut. And then, what helped me that day was communal living, because when I was shouting in my room, my neighbors came out. Everybody came out. In fact, they were trying to bring down the window because he locked the door. And obviously, he was powerful than I am. So my neighbors were trying to bring down the window because the door was not the type that would come down easily. So after that, I really felt it in my mind. I was like, oh, this is how it should be. Yes, they were supposed to mind their business as it is in this our present day generation. Everybody will say, mind your business, man. It's not supposed to be like that. There are some things that you have to do it out of, you have to put head in some people's business, whether you were invited or not. So imagine that lady when that thing started and that neighbor intruded, he would have saved that lady from that event. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So communities and people should be able to watch out for each other. Intrude in that business if it's necessary. Go in. Don't mind your business when it's necessary. So that's one of the things I'll also advise.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you
And
too.
thanks for making yourself available for this educational and informative podcast.
I want to say thank you for what you do at Safe House, and then for bringing certain discussions that maybe people are afraid of talking about, people are afraid of seeing them out there. So thank you so much.